What do you make of that, the distinction I make? Separate the lambs from the wolves. Don't take them all.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great analogy, and it's so obvious, Ezra, the problem is that Syria, it's such a complicated war. There's so many different sides and so many different sects fighting each other. It's like, they must all be refugees, so let's just let them all in. Well, historically, our refugee policy is focused on taking in the persecuted minorities, the ethnic minorities, religious minorities, now, people who have sexual orientation that makes them persecuted. We're deliberate about it. There are a lot of people around the world who would want to come to Canada if given the chance. I mean, why wouldn't they? Canada is the best country in the world. But because, we only have limited resources, there's only so much that we can do to help. We have to be deliberate. We have to be smart. We can use both our heads and our hearts. And I think that is part of the problem with the way that liberals look at immigration, is that they don't use their brains. They think that, people who come to Canada will probably just be so happy to come to Canada that they wouldn't possibly want to do anything wrong. They refuse to look at facts about about terrorists infiltrating refugee camps, about terrorists coming in alongside mass migration, about terrorists who have come to Canada as refugees. There are many, many examples of terrorists that are in refugee camps. And so we can't ignore that. We can't ignore the bloodshed that's going on in Europe, the jihad and the Islamist extremists that have come into Europe alongside the refugees. And frankly, they've come to Canada too. There are examples of refugees who are also Islamic terrorists. And, it's interesting, Ezra, when I talk to my liberal friends and journalists on the left, they don't seem to really want to acknowledge this point. They want to talk about Islamophobia, they want to talk about the sort of bigoted reaction that they see, but they don't want to talk about the initial problem. The initial problem is that there are people who want to do harm, there are people who want to wage war against the West, against Western civilization, and it is a real threat, and we have to do something to counter it. And I think that that's the major disconnect on this issue.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.